Greetings and welcome back at long last to Zord's Modded Space Program Season 2 Episode 5. Today I am undertaking a very ambitious mission. This rocket is by far and wide the biggest thing that I have flown. It is based on the Space Launch System parts that come with the Realism Overhaul, and they are absolutely incredibly massive. This thing weighs well over 1,000 tons on the pad, and it's used to launch big things into space and to the moon, which is what I'm doing right now. Here I'm trying to establish a stable orbit with the orbital velocity of 7.5 kilometers per second. It's still not enough. Orbital velocity is still very high around the Earth. So, what is this humongous rocket carrying? Well, as you will soon see, inside the fairings are a bunch of stuff. It is some of the basic things that you're going to need to start a construction colony, basically, on the moon. So here you can see it's lots of things, rockets and fuel tanks. You can fly it around and, most importantly, land it on the surface of another body. So we want to go to the moon, and we get a very favorable window here, transfer. I managed to quite nail the ascent, and I'm not even going to need a correction burn, it looks like. And I made it quite efficiently, so there's a bit of fuel left in the first stage. It's so big. So I can use this fuel to give myself the first couple of 100 meters per second. That's what I will do. I will just wait until it's rotated to the correct point in the correct direction, then lock it in with the not at all cheating of time warp, and I will use this. And this is about where I decide to rename this thing to not test, because yeah, it's going much better than the 500 times I tried this before, and it either blew up or fell out of the sky or ran out of fuel or something. So yeah, that's one of the two big reasons why this took quite a while. This mission was really hard. It looks easy because I cut out all the failures. So the first stage is separated, starting the second stage. The whole shape is now significantly smaller, running on a fuel mix of, what's that? Kerosene and NOx or something? Something I didn't read quite. It's very dense and quite low ISP, but it's very, very stable, doesn't boil off. Good for when you have long-term missions like I will soon have. So as I said, a favorable transfer, no need for a big course correction. Burning pretty much directly into a good arc around the moon. You just need to circularize this and we're good to go. We even have the altitude quite right. So I plan in this maneuver node, simple enough. Done this lots before, except on a smaller scale. Plan in some alarms, and away we go when I have remembered to deploy the solar panels, that is. This is a lot of solar panels because this operation is going to require energy. So this is going to provide a start, and also we need to have a communication link back to Earth. For some reason, I think it's due to just incompatibility with the mods and such, that I have local control all the time, despite the craft being very much unmanned. But I'm just going to ignore that and try to keep a good radio link back to Earth at all times, because that's what you need to do. So we have arrived in the moon's sphere of influence. I now want to point the rocket in the correct direction. We don't have a terrible amount of fuel left in this second stage tank, but we'll make good use of it. So point it in the correct direction and time warp. See? Yep, here we go. And here's the moon. It's so good. It looks so good. These high resolution textures. I'm gonna take screenshots of that. Maybe it's the thumbnail. I don't know. We'll see. Then we're approaching our maneuver node. Here we go, and then we burn our first, or we set the second pair of sepatrons. First pair of sepatrons. This is important to note because with the engine ignitions mod you have both a limited number of starts per engine and the engine need to have a fuel flow through it, usually. Not all engines require this, but these ones I'm using do. So you have to have a fuel flow, which means you need to be accelerating, which means you need to carry Sepatrons, usually. Now I am time warping because I want the specific hex I'm going to land on to be underneath my orbit. I have picked out 2 hexagons, they're pretty much right next to each other, which are the only 2 which have both Kethane and metal ore and are on the near side of the moon. So I want to land in one of these because then I will be able to set up one base that can do everything, can construct rockets from scratch. That is exactly what I want. So now we have a little bit of fuel left in this engine, this tank, so I'm going to use what's left, burning another set of Sepatrons. I think this is number 3, so ditch that, that's empty pretty much. And now we have 3 sets of Sepatrons left. This is important to remember because this means I can start my engines 3 times from here on out. So now we have lowered our orbit into a landing pass, and we're going to try to land this thing. I will say that this is where the biggest design flaw, quite possibly, of this craft is revealed. It has no lights, which is terrible if you're going to land without landing legs on the night side of anything. But I have the power of quick save and maneuver nodes on my side, so let's do this, shall we? So there we go, first ignition, bringing us down from orbital velocity to a small ballistic arc. Need timing this with a maneuver node so that we get inside the right hexagon, which is this one right we're flying over right now. Want to stand inside this one. So this is pretty good. Now we're just trying to bring down the vertical velocity. There we go, engine shutdown. And there we go, second start. Now we're trying to limit our falling velocity from hundreds of meters per second to quite reasonable velocity and killing all of vertical velocity. Second shutdown. Last ignition. And now we have the fuel flowing and it landed. Sorry you couldn't actually see what was going on, but it's dark. I will adjust the brightness for you. There we go, look at that. Now we can actually see what's inside. You can see wheels and stuff. I'll explain everything in time. But for now, we can't actually unpack most of this because there are a few connections made with the Kerbal, what's called Kerbal attachment system that can only be broken by a Kerbal. So to get Kerbals up here, we need to get them up here anyway. But we can deploy this thing, which is probably the most important piece of cargo. It's a fold-up crane, and it's fold up because you can fold it up, so it takes a lot less space. But here we go, it's deployed and ready to do some moving about of stuff. And now there's one more piece of equipment, the Kethane extractor, that I can deploy. I'm thinking maybe I should remove the engines and tanks on the side because they're pretty much empty, but no, I'm gonna keep them because they can act as storage. So here's the minuscule Kethane extractor. I have everything as small as I can make it because the plan is really to just extract a bit of resources and then build our own resource extraction chains on the moon, which is a lot more efficient than bringing them here. So the idea here is to hook on or grapple on with the electromagnet here and then release it, and we can carry it away and put it where we need it. Right now we don't need it in a particular place, so we're just gonna put it wherever, really. Just we can deploy this, so we will, because it's so much fun driving this crane around on the moon. Let's see if we can get a grip on the top of this. Well, almost. Okay, that's close enough. Let's see, if we deploy the legs, maybe we can swing it swing it onto the right side. Look at this. Yeah! That didn't look as good in regular speed when I did it, but it looks great at 4 times acceleration. So that's pretty much it. We need to bring Kerbals, and they need to bring a bit more equipment, like a keythink converter, maybe. And that's next episode. I hope you enjoyed watching this delayed episode. Goodbye!